woke people, rainbow colored hair people, the ABCD community, and all of the above never cease to amaze me with the nonsense that they continuously come up with, and this video is going to show you just that. But before we get into the video, this video is sponsored by DIYOJ, which is a custom jersey making company who has made the shirt that I am currently wearing right now. Whether it be baseball, American football, and I mean the real football, or as they call it, soccer in the United States of America. And if you guys want to get discounts, hit the link in the description below and you'll be able to do that there. But without further ado, let us get into the video.
What are your names?
I'm Hannah.
Hannah?
Marilyn.
Hannah and Marilyn. Jared, how did you, am I good if I, okay. Hannah and Marilyn. So, it's sort of become this neologism, this idea of male privilege, and I know we talk about it a lot on campus, and I've had some conversations with people on campus today. I don't agree with the premise, but I'm open to having my mind changed.
Okay, Marilyn, go first. Well, male privilege is definitely a real thing.
Okay.
Our country was built by white males, and it was built for white males. Mm-hmm. That's why women and any minority don't have an equal chance of being in politics. That's why most of our politicians are white males instead of representative of the actual population. That's why gerrymandering exists. That's why redlining exists. White privilege and white male privilege and male privilege is a real thing.
College students just parrot the same thing that they hear over and over and over and over again. It's simple math that white people will be in place of higher positions just based on the fact that they're majority of the population. Just to help you college students who can't do simple math, if you're to go to a majority black country, the same thing will be there. It's not rocket science, but because these people are so brainwashed and programmed to say the same thing about white privilege and white males and straight white males, they go on to say the same nonsense that this student is saying.
Okay, so I want to make sure I have this clear. Do you agree with what?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay, sorry. So I'm trying to try and balance this with the both of you. Hope you forgive me if I'm not perfect. So, you believe that this country was founded by white males exclusively?
I don't believe it was. I know it is.
Okay, you know it. Yeah. So, what would you use to substantiate that? A lot of white males obviously came here because Western civilization. People came from Europe. A lot of white males, but that it was founded exclusively for white males. That's what you said. Yeah. How do you?
Male-dominated society.
But that doesn't imply, that doesn't necessarily equate to design.
The Constitution originally didn't mention women or black people or anything, or minorities or anything. It only mentioned white men. It didn't specifically say white, but it said men.
This girl is hurting my head. What does she expect the Constitution to say? Start mentioning every color on the rainbow because it caters to your feelings. They're not going to do that, and they don't have to do that because your feelings are hurt. These people are like robots and just say absolute nonsense, and it annoys me to hear the same thing over and over again. And they're supposedly getting higher education, and these people are the future of the Western world. And this is the type of nonsense that they come up with.
Give any minorities the right to anything. We had to fight for that right.
Who's we?
The minorities. Women had to, people of color had to, everyone had to, except for white males.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So you're saying that the Constitution, first off, mentioned only white men. I would say
it didn't say white men. It said men.
Mankind, men.
Man.
Yeah, this was
yes.
a term. You know, again, this is just sort of a colloquialism. Men. The rights were extended to women. You're aware, right?
They weren't extended to women. Women had to fight for their rights.
No, women never had to fight for the freedom of speech or Second Amendment.
Well, what do you mean women didn't have to fight for these rights? They literally had marching. Women were hurt for this, like
for the First Amendment and Second Amendment. Women
for
didn't have
the right to vote, for the right to not be treated as property.
Okay, so that's interesting that you bring up the right to vote. So you say we fought for it, everyone except for white men.
No, some white men did, but
some
it was mostly women.
So
and
mostly
honestly,
women and minorities.
It was mostly white women at first who didn't include black women.
Okay, so who do you believe procured the right for women to vote?
Women fighting for it.
Really?
Yeah, white men wouldn't have gave it to women if they didn't fight for it.
So you believe a majority of women fought, you believe were suffragettes, fought for the right to vote?
I don't know if it was a majority, but I know women did, and we wouldn't have it if those women hadn't stood up for it.
The stupidity is astounding. Majority of women didn't actually want the right to vote. But of course you wouldn't know that because you've been brainwashed to believe the nonsense that you do. Carrying on.
Okay, well, because it seems like we're going through a historical timeline. Historically, that's actually not accurate. The majority of women...
Historically, that is accurate.
So women actually, the majority of women didn't want the right to vote. It was men who
I
gave them the
told
right
you
to vote.
I didn't know if it was the majority, but it wouldn't have happened if women haven't stood up in the suffragist movement and fought for it.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because you said women and minorities fought for that right, not white men. When the fact is women actually, as a majority, didn't fight for that right. Many of them fought against it. White men fought for that and were the ones who signed that into law.
Before we get back into the video, I need everyone to turn on their post notifications so that you get notified whenever one of my videos come out. Like the video as much as possible, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy. Let us get back into the video.
Because of women, they wouldn't have signed it into law if women hadn't made them sign it into law.
But they didn't. The majority of women didn't want it. That's my point. And the reason they didn't want it, by the way, we'll move on from this, was because of the fact that voting came with the draft, mandatory bucket duty responsibilities that were actually not bestowed upon women at that time, and they didn't want the right to vote because it would come with the same responsibilities. So women got the right to vote, but they didn't have to be a part of the draft or mandatory bucket duty, mandatory firefighting service. So historically, I'm just saying that's actually, it's not really accurate. It paints an inaccurate picture,
I know
which
there
I would
were
disagree.
women, there was an anti-suffragist movement. I know conservative women didn't want the right to vote, but it's because of women that they were given the right to vote. And of course there's going to be people on each side, but there's going to be women who want to stay in the home, but the whole point of women fighting for it is so they have that choice to stay in the home or go out to vote, or go into the draft if they want to.
Well, I don't think respectfully, you fundamentally have a misunderstanding of the draft. It's
go into war,
voluntary.
not the draft. I don't believe in drafting anyone at all. I don't believe you should fight for a war that you shouldn't.
But at a time it was a part of voting. That's my point. My only point here is you said it was a society designed by white men, exclusively for white men, and gave some examples which weren't accurate. So let me bring us to today. What rights are afforded in 2018 to men exclusively that aren't afforded to women?
I'm going to answer it for her. There are none. And as I've said in previous videos, they love complaining because they get awarded for complaining and playing victim. Playing victim in today's society is seen as a badge of honor. If you play victim, everybody will cheer and congratulate you that you are a victim. So majority of people play victim because it's an easy thing to do.
I would like both of you to answer, because I don't want you to just sit there and feel like I don't want to cut you out of this.
No, I think Marilyn's explaining it really well. I just don't think you're understanding her side and how she's saying that it was a two-sided thing. So there are women who want to stay at home and live that life, and there are women who wanted the right to vote, to have their voice heard and their representation.
Sure.
And I think you want to focus on the conservative side that want to stay at home, and she's trying to say,
no, not at all.
They got the option to stay at home because other women were fighting for their right to vote.
No, that's not what I was presenting from my side at all.
Yes, it was.
No, let me clarify one more time then, okay? And I want to make it really clear, not only for you, for anyone watching. You said this was a society created by white men, exclusively for white men. And women and minorities had to fight for these rights, and you use examples as voting, and white men didn't. What I am pointing out is that is inaccurate. White men did. Most women didn't want it. So that's a false premise that paints a false it's a false baseline for today. Because if you say at one point, now I think women should have the right to vote. I'm very glad that we all do. Okay, we can agree on that. What I can't agree with is something that is historically inaccurate. So I'd like to find something we agree on today. What rights today in 2018 are afforded to men that are not afforded to women? I don't believe that there's systemic male privilege today. I'm not saying I could be wrong. I don't believe it though. And I would like to be convinced, or I'm certainly open to being convinced.
I feel your male privilege is a myth. I feel like only white men have that male privilege.
These people are as confused as it gets and don't know what they're talking about. One minute it's men have privilege, now it's only white men have privilege. These people are completely brainwashed, and it's showing in this video. Her lack of knowledge and her lack of understanding of history is shown in this video, and the propaganda that has been taught to her is also shown in this video because she just regurgitates what she's heard from other people. She wants to dispute the facts of history that most women did not want the right to vote. She will dispute that till her grave, and it's actually sad to see it.
And that's what the focus should be on.
Okay, so there's no black male privilege.
No.
Okay. We have some black men actually in the audience. Maybe they can come in afterwards. I would be interested to hear their perspective. So white male privilege.
Yes.
Okay. So what systemic white male privilege exists today? What rights are afforded, for example, to white males that are not afforded to black males, or to white males not afforded to black females? Let's divide everyone by race and gender at this point.
In regards to like laws and things like that, obviously the laws aren't like, oh, white men get this privilege and blah 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 blah. So in regards to like technical terms, it says like men. It's laid out by laws really equally. When it comes to the actual systems, there's tons of black men crowding jails for an eighth of weed, while white men have like weed parties and it's cool and that's their thing, but like black men are automatically arrested for it. So that goes into the whole like police brutality argument. But
it might be the fact that black men just commit more crimes than other races. That might be why this is happening. I might be wrong, but that might be the reason. But hey, what do I know?
Can I ask you that? I've never heard of a weed party.
you can ask one of them.
Oh yeah, you can ask.
You mean one of the white males?
Probably.
Yeah. No, I don't. It's okay. We'll have someone come in afterwards and they can explain to me a weed party. So, no, genuinely, this is not me being a smart.
Parties fraternity brothers throw.
I'm sure they do, but the premise was the idea, right, that black men are in prison for an eighth of weed. Do you have any statistical data to prove that black men with nothing more than an eighth of weed go to prison?
I couldn't give you the exact statistics, but there's several accounts of it, and it's not unknown. It's pretty much common sense that blacks are way easily more arrested than white men.
And that right there is all we need to know about the IQ level of the people who are being interviewed in this video, because they said absolute nonsense, brought up anecdotal evidence to show that there is white privilege, and based everything on what they've heard from people around them. These people have shown themselves to not be smart. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram and X at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.